Hi, welcome to AG Paintball. Today we're going to have a talk about pads and protection. We get lots of questions from newer players, and especially parents of newer players, on what sort of equipment they need to protect themselves. So we're going to run through some of the equipment that's out there for protection, whether you need it, whether you just might want it, and whether you don't really need it. So let's go. Okay, so the first thing you're going to need to play paintball is a set of paintball goggles. Notice that I mentioned paintball goggles and not shop goggles, not ski goggles, not goggles meant for airsoft. A lot of those other goggles are meant to protect your eyes from wind or from little particles of dust or whatnot. Paintball goggles are meant to take large-scale impacts and stop every little bit of it from reaching your eyes, okay? We'd also, while you're at it, recommend that you try to find one of the two-pane or what we call thermal lens goggles, much better against fogging. Another thing you should know, goggles are not made in different sizes. So as of right now, you're not going to find kid sizes or adult sizes. You're really just going to use a strap system to adjust how it fits to the head. All right. So what do you need to know about paintball and protection? There's only two places on the human body that a hit will cause real, permanent, not going to heal type of injury, and that's a hit to the eye or a hit straight down the ear canal. And paintball goggle systems are designed to stop those two completely. So from this point forward in the video, we're going to talk about other things you might want, but as far as need, absolute need, is made for paintball goggles. Okay? So another piece of protection that new players will sometimes opt for, and especially we see parents opting for them, is a goggle that covers the entire head, right? Instead of just the face, ear, and chin area, right? Again, a hit to the top of the head, a hit to the back of the head, or towards the rear and side, there is no danger there. You're not going to be suffering permanent injury or anything of that nature. Again, it's just the eyes, and it's just a hit direct down the ear canal that presents some danger. And all the standard paintball goggles cover those completely. So, again, these might make a new player a little bit more confident to play in. There is a couple negatives. You're going to pay a little bit more. So the similar goggles from the same manufacturer, but without the full head covering, might be 20 or 30 bucks less. The other thing is they do trap in a little bit more heat, and heat equals fog. Now, if you get one of those two-pane thermal lenses, you're pretty good against fog, but you are trapping in a little bit more heat with these. Other than that, there's not a lot of negative. Again, I put this in the very optional category. Okay, first item of protection I will not play without, and that's knee pads. Right? And this has nothing to do with a paintball coming at me. I'm not trying to protect my knees from paintballs. I'm trying to protect myself from the environment, right? Throw my body around, especially in the woods. All it takes is one kneel down on a particularly sharp stick, or if you dive into a bunker and your knee finds a rock, or someone starts shooting at you and you suddenly got to drop to the ground, any of those things, your knee can find something very unpleasant out in the woods, and this is what's going to keep you walking the next day or two instead of limping around. So it doesn't have to be paintball knee pads, but definitely some kind of knee pads. Absolute must for playing paintball. So, next type of protection to talk about is elbow pads. This is definitely more of an optional thing than a necessary thing. They're not a bad idea, especially if you're going to play speedball, airball, the turfed fields, and you find yourself throwing your body into bunkers. It's not a bad idea to have elbow pads on. I wear them. In the woods, it's a little bit more optional because you're probably not going to literally throw yourself into a bunker. It wouldn't hurt to have them, and if you already own them, go ahead and wear them. But it's a little more optional in the woods than it is on speedball. So, next item to talk about, gloves. Right, most players are going to wear some kind of glove. Give yourself a little bit of resistance to the sting of getting hit in the knuckles by a paintball. Again, this is probably an optional item. If I were to show up at a field and realize I forgot to bring my gloves, wouldn't stop me from playing. You're going to find paintball gloves in one of two varieties. They're either going to be full finger for maximum protection, or a lot of gloves you're going to see will have a couple of the fingers exposed. And this is mostly for trigger reasons. It's a lot easier to shoot if you have the triggers exposed. So that's up to you, which one you feel more comfortable with. All right, next piece of protection that parents ask us about a lot, and that's a cup, for obvious and practical reasons. If you get into some of the fancier paintball clothing, you'll have things like slide shorts, which have padding on almost all around, and that's just generally for throwing your body around, and of course they're going to build in padding and protection. Some of the paintball pants you'll see will also similarly be padded in the same area. But you don't have to buy paintball clothing for this purpose. You could use a cup that you're using for some other athletic event. You could buy a cup from your local sports store. Any of those will work just fine. Another very commonly purchased piece of protection, especially early on in someone's playing career, is a chest protector, right? I would elevate this a little bit higher on the priority list if it's a young woman that's playing, but for anybody, they certainly can wear chest protectors. Getting hit in the chest is not a safety concern. There's no permanent injury you can suffer by getting hit in the chest. So what do these do for you? Well, for newer players that might be nervous about getting hit, it gives them a little bit of extra confidence and it might make the day a little bit more pleasant. I gotta say, long term, most players don't continue to wear these. They tend to be something they use to get into the sport. So maybe you want to buy a chest protector. I just wouldn't invest a ton of money into it because most players don't continue to wear it deep into their playing career. And that's not for macho reasons. It's just they're a little bit more uncomfortable and bulky to wear. And eventually you get hit just about everywhere sooner or later. And you either realize maybe this sport's not for me and I don't like it, or you realize it's not that bad. And so you ditch the thing that's kind of become uncomfortable and hot. Okay, so the next piece of equipment that people might be interested in is a throw protector. A throw protector is exactly what it sounds like. These things usually cost $10 or so, maybe under, and they do a very simple job, right? Protect your throat. I would put these in the same category as chest protectors, a very optional piece of equipment. It's another thing that does make your day a little bit hotter because you're trapping in a little bit more heat. Certainly doesn't hurt, and again, if it gives a player confidence to get out there and play and makes the hits a little less painful, then it's not a bad piece of equipment, but definitely an optional piece of equipment. So, out of all the equipment we talked about today, the one piece of equipment that's not optional is obviously the goggles. Real permanent injury is going to result from a hit to the eye or a hit down the ear canal. Anywhere else you get hit on the human body, it might be unpleasant. You might get a little bit of a sting. You could even get a bruise when the day is over, but it's not a threat to your life or limb. So there's lots and lots of stuff you can buy in this sport. There's endless stuff that you can buy in this sport. So you want to spend your money wisely. Goggles, number one. Good goggles, absolutely number one. For me, knee pads. Other stuff I'm going to probably buy eventually would be like gloves or maybe elbow pads. Everything else is mostly about comfort, about hurting a little bit less, but is not really a safety issue, just the goggles. So thank you and good luck out there.